Hello everyone, I am back once again, this time with a review on the Marvel Legends Captain America Brave New World Deluxe Captain America. So here we are, there he is. Now, let's start off with the packaging. Right here, it's your standard sort of deluxe box, pretty big and wide with, of course, the background being the Captain America logo. On the side, we get a good look at Sam Wilson. On the other side, look at Sam Wilson. On the top, we do get Cap's shield, and on the bottom, UPCs. Take a picture of that. There we go. And at the back, we do get a read up of what happens. Pause to read there. And we do get another promotional shot of Captain America. So, there's the packaging. Now onto the figure. So let's start off with my brief history with this figure. I'll be honest, I really love this idea of Sam Wilson as Captain America. I won't go on any side rants on my thoughts on it, but overall, I do really like him as Captain America. I do think Sam Wilson fits the bill for being Captain America, in my humble opinion. And I do really wanted a figure of this, especially since I rewatched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I was immediately thinking, hey, maybe I should get that version instead, despite it being a Build-A-Figure. I've seen it go for a little bit cheaper. But then, of course, this figure was released. Now, initially, I was kind of turned off by this because of the suit. I'm not the biggest fan of the suit, as I think someone said it the best. It just looks like one of Steve's suits rather than, Sam's suit, the white suit, which, granted, it is showing in the movie, but to be honest, I don't know when they're going to make a deluxe reissue of that. I don't remember the Marvel Legends leaks including that, so it is a bit of a bummer. So I was like, okay, let me think about it. Let me watch some reviews. And after watching reviews, I was like, okay. And even more watching a little bit of the clips, I was like, okay, you know what? I may as well just get this, even though I'm not the biggest fan of the suit. And I got it. And I was pretty happy with it. Until a little bit, like a week ago, if you remember, I posted a short of Buyers Beware of how this thing broke. And this is my first time experiencing one of the Captain America shields, or let alone any shield for that matter. The clip just snapped. It broke. And as you could see right there, there is a little bit of sticky tack. So, yeah, I was a bit disappointed at that. Now, will that stop you from getting this figure? Or is this figure worth getting even if you don't have, or you do have the Build-A-Figure? So, or Build-A-Wings, sorry. Alright, so let's start off with the painting and the sculpting. Okay, so the painting on the sculpting on this figure is actually pretty good. Mainly the sculpt, I feel. The paint is pretty good. It's very crisp, but it's also a little bit inconsistent. I really don't know. I feel like there should be a lot more paint on this figure, and I might use the box here as reference of what I mean. So let's start off with the head sculpt here. Now, obviously, let me just do a little bit of this. I do think the head sculpt here is very good. There is a very good likeness, in my opinion, to Anthony Mackie. And I feel like other figures like the Build-A-Wings cap or the Civil War / Infinity War cap, they don't have this level of they don't have this level of quality in terms of the likeness. I might put a picture up on screen, and I might either say it looks close enough, but I feel like for something like this, it just looks so much better. Like, it just looks better. Everything from the stash to the hair, it looks better now. I'm gonna have to get a lot of lights in here. So what's the main problem? I guess it's the fact that he's still wearing the goggles, and spoiler alert, there isn't a goggless version of this head sculpt, which is a bit of a bummer because this head sculpt rocks. It's awesome looking. And I do think the sculpt is very well done. Not entirely textured, as you could see, like on some parts of the body, like the back or the arms, or not the arms, the chest. But there is a nice crisp detail here, especially with the silver and the white and red. Now, and a little bit of gray. Now, if we compare it to the box still has those elements too, as we see here. There is a little bit of gray on his side. If you can see that, and there is a little bit of silver and white. So that's all. There is that too. Originally, a complaint of mine were the fact that there isn't any brown here, but after looking at it through this box, I came to realize there isn't really any brown. It just looks like this. And there is some nice silver too. My only gripe again is the fact that it feels like there's not really any texture. And this is kind of a sort of stark contrast to the Deadpool and Wolverine figures, where they had very good amounts of texture detail work onto them. These ones, a little bit, like on the especially on his arms here, there's some good detail, and I do think they got the skin color a little bit better than the Build-A-Wings. In my opinion, it looks a lot better. Hell, even more, going back to this head sculpt, I prefer this more than the Build-A-Wings. My problem with the Build-A-Wings cap is the fact that his goggles were just frosted and almost made it look like you can't even see his eyes, much like the Captain America, or not the Captain America, the Falcon figure from either Civil War or Infinity War. But yeah, there is a very good amount of detail here, like the grays and such. I just wish there was a lot more texture to it. Like there's a little bit more texture on the suit as a whole. I do like the gloves, and I do like the expression they have on it. It's very nice. I even like the one for the splayed hand. Overall, not too bad. And I do like the gauntlets. However, part of me is still getting flashbacks of like the Spider-Man gauntlets with these, but they're not bad. And I do like the detail, of course, on his boots and everything. Although I do feel like these shoes feel more like Crocs, and I know the Foosh said it, and I just can't unsee it. It really does look like Crocs, and it looks really goofy. But I overall really like the detail. There are some detail on his legs, as you can see, like some panel lines and everything, but it's not entirely awful. Again, there's some nice texture, but just not everywhere else on the figure, which is a bit of a bummer. But yeah, it's a very nicely done figure. I just don't think in terms of a design, it's a bit of a bummer that there's not enough texture, there's not enough detail per se, because it looks a little, again, bland. And it kind of looks more like a toy than anything, but I really like the paint more here. It feels more crisp. It feels more it feels just a lot better. There's a lot more upgrades besides just the skin color. The paint doesn't feel like it's chipping. Unlike that Falcon and the Winter Soldier, unlike this figure, the Build-A-Wings cap, to my knowledge, had problems like chipping paint on the chest and such. And it just was chipping, and it needed a lot more of a brighter white than it is. Coupled with the head sculpt, it's just not for me. Also, side note, little side rant, though, go really quick. I really do like the fact that they got rid of that awful, weird side thing. I'll show it on screen if you know what I mean. That you would see on that white suit for Sam Wilson. It just looks really... I know it's comic accurate, but it just looks off. Looks like a head sock. That's what I heard from other people, but it just looks really awful. So I'm glad they went with just the goggles. Makes more sense. Now for this guy's accessories. Okay, so for accessories, Cap comes with a very good amount. Besides this shield, he also has the wings, 2 backpacks, one meant specifically for the wings, as noticed by these pegs here, and one just so the wings aren't really out, a helmet, and 2 fist hands. So let's start off with the fisted hands. These are sort of the newest addition to the figure, as the original Build-A-Wings figure didn't have this, and more or less that 2-pack with Captain America, if you remember, I'll put it up on screen, had these. Overall, I really love the red they went with it. Very metallic, very nice. Although that could just be on camera, it overall looks really cool. And you could still see, again, that skin tone, so there is a bit of consistency there. Same goes for the other fist as well. Very nicely well done. Obviously, if you owned a Legend, you would know how this works. Simply take this and then just, of course, pop. And then pop these in. Make sure, you kind of do a hair dryer on this, because who knows, it could potentially break the joint, or it just won't go in. And this is especially true with this head sculpt. Now, I'm not saying it broke my figure again, but this thing was just a pain to put on. This head sculpt right here is the biggest pain just to put on. But overall, it's a very nicely done head sculpt. I know some people are kind of like mad, like, oh, why is he wearing a helmet? When in reality, it makes total sense. Like, think about it like this. The movie had, and again, another little side rant here. Think about it like this. The movie is said to have Top Gun level action. Like, the flight scenes are reminiscent of Top Gun. So, wouldn't it be, like, obvious for him, especially if he's going on high altitudes, for him to wear a helmet? Yeah, so there's that. And again, I love the detail on this. I just wish there was a texture work, or maybe even more. I wish these the tubing here on the side, if you can see, is actually gray. But I do wish there was a lot more paint here. It does feel like there should be more paint than there already is. Especially in comparison to the other head. Now, you can briefly see his eyes. But yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. In my opinion, I wish they were more at least this head sculpt be frosted, but it's nice they still added his eyes. Now, of course, to put this on, you simply just remove this head and then put it on. But my figure has the loosest neck joint, and at this point, I might even have to consider hair drying this just to put it on. So if there is an update video, keyword if, I will show you how it is with the masthead. Granted, in reality, I don't think I'm really going to display him with a masthead, with this helmet, because it's just not for me. I still want to display him, of course, with the Sam Wilson head, so yeah, there we go. Just sorry to kind of go off camera and get this guy with his relaxed hand. So he can technically hold it with this hand right here. So if you want to, he can hold it like so to an extent, but I don't know. Now, of course, the backpacks here, or the jet, or the wings, again, very nicely well done. Although I do wish there was a lot more than just the silver and blue and metallic blue. Again, very nicely well sculpted, but I do wish there was a lot more orange and maybe some more silver. Maybe gunmetal too. But as you saw, there is a bit of a peg here, and there is a peg on the back of the figure. You simply just, boom, there we go. And now he is just standing there before he has to fly again. I forgot to mention he does have this thing, but I'll discuss that later. And then, of course, we have the regular jetpack, which has this weird extension for some reason. That's the only thing different besides these pegs for the aforementioned wings, which look very nicely well done. Although I do think I wish there was, again, more detail. There are some blue gears here that I feel like they should have been silver. Especially on here, too. But yeah, to simply put these in these little rivets here, if you could see on camera, go into these here, and you could see there's a lot of rigids there. They simply peg in, and there you go. It's just one peg. They don't really sit on there too much, but yeah. And then there we go. And then you could also peg this in on the back. Now this is awesome. This is awesome. And I'll go over articulation when we get there. And of course he has the red wing, which looks really nicely detailed. Although again, there could have been more paint. But weirdly enough, he has a peg hole in here, and yet he doesn't have a stand. So it just kind of sits here. It just kind of, I don't even know what you do with it, to be honest. I've seen Robo Don't Know actually use a Headpool figure, the Headpool and Logan figure, and they use the stand, and he simply just put it in here. Like, you put the stand in the Red Wing, and then just left Headpool just literally just on the ground. So there is a bit of a problem with that. And then, of course, the aforementioned shield, which is the main point of problems for me and why it kind of went a little lower, because if you know, it broke. Now, if you do see a bit of a blue remnants to it, that's because this thing is held on by sticky tack. But yeah, other than that, this just really disappoints me. And here's the weird thing. I don't experience this often. Like, I don't. So, I don't know how they're really going to do this whole shield system. Either they're going to the clips, or they're going to do the strap things like the other Captain Americas, which in my opinion don't do that. It just, for me, that's a pain. Especially when it comes to, let's say if you want them to hold it, but they only have fist hands, it makes it so much harder. And I'll show you when I do a comparison with that that Civil War Captain America, which I'll probably bring out for science comparisons. But yeah, overall, other than the complaints, I do love the detail on this shield. It's very nicely well done. This is the brand new shield with the ridges on the little ridges on the sides here, which is very nicely well done. And you do see the straps, but of course, there is no straps here. It's just the clip. Again, it's broken. And there is a peg here, which, yes, you could peg it onto his back, but it just looks kind of odd. But you can actually peg this into both of his jetpacks. Now, simply put, just peg it here. There we go. And same can also be said for his other jetpack. Accessories is good if it wasn't for the QC. That's all I gotta say. The QC kind of killed me for this, and why I'm a little negative on it. But outside of the shield breaking, I do really love this guy's accessories. It's a really good amount. Obviously, it wouldn't come with like a gun or anything, because this is, you know, Captain America, so it makes total sense. And even more, there's any complaints, I'd say so far it's just maybe a little bit of lack of paint, the head not wanting to go in, and maybe the looseness of these wings, like this wing right here. And just to let you know, these things were disassembled, so you gotta assemble it. It was literally just like this in the box, so you gotta peg it in like that. But they are a little bit loose. Sorry about that. About that cut. But yes, they are a little bit loose. And I do wish there was a stand for not only just the Red Wing, but for Falcon himself. I do have an example on the ground here, and that's this Green Goblin stand, if you remember. This stand right here. They could have done something similar to this, just so the figure could do some aerial poses. But unfortunately it doesn't. So, again, outside of the QC, I do wish there was, again, a little bit more. Maybe, again, maybe replace this for an unmasked or gogless, if that's even a word, a gogless Anthony Mackie head. Who knows? But yeah, now let's go over this guy's articulation. To be completely honest, Cap's articulation is pretty average. Not great, but pretty average. You're not going to get like a lot of diaphragm articulation. Hell, there's not even a single butterfly joint. So there is that. But it's pretty good regardless. Head is on a ball joint here. However, it's on those disc hinges, so he can look up this far and he can look down this far. No tilting motion. There is rotation because, again, this thing is on a disc hinge. Without the wings, arms can go 360. There is, there is bicep articulation right here. There is a double jointed elbow, and there is a hinge joint at the wrist. There is a waist swivel as well, along with an ab crunch, which goes about this far and goes about back this far. Legs are on a ball joint here, so they can go up this far, and they can go back this far. Kick up, kick out. Decent spread. Thigh swivel. A sort of double joint at the knee, but the boot or calf here is kind of limiting everything because of the sculpt, which, by the way, it's nice, it's actually sculpted. And then these ones, and this is where I say either heat up your figures or boil or put them in like boiling water, because there is a hinge joint at the ankles. Hinge joint here, hinge joint up, and there is pivot. Now, why do I mention this? Because these ankles were super duper tight. I didn't want them to break. So I dipped this guy into like a cup of like boiling hot water, and look at that. Now, of course, they are a little bit loose because it's been there a little bit longer, like this knee, but overall, I think it was a worthy sacrifice because at least his ankles don't feel like they're about to snap. And then, of course, we get the wings, which, again, they're on these little rivet joints or something. They can go down about this far, and they can go up about this far, which is absolutely impressive. And then everything else is just hinge joints. So hinge joint here, which is something that even the original, I think, didn't have. And then a hinge joint here. Posability is basic. That's all I gotta say. It's very basic. But I don't think it's terrible. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. This design, or let alone any of the movie designs, I find it hard how they're going to implement like a butterfly joint. I mean, a diaphragm cut could have been easy, but like under here, but like a butterfly joint, I don't know how that could have worked with how, given the design. And I do think the wings could have used more articulation. Maybe another joint here. It could have been a little bit ugly, but I don't know. I feel like there could be a lot more poses with this. But yeah, you can make it look like he's being shielded by his wings or he's flying. It's just a shame we don't have a flight stand with him. So yeah, now let's move on to these size comparisons. Size-wise, Cap stands at almost about 6 1/4, maybe 6.5 inches. And the wingspan of him is literally almost like maybe 15 inches or so. His wings are pretty massive. And as for, again, a comparison, for other size comparisons, here he is compared to the Marvel Legends 10th year anniversary Captain America from Captain America Civil War and the Marvel Legends Infinity War Falcon. Now, again, look at these head sculpts. It's a night and day difference. Literally. Like, dude, this is fine, but then when you look at this is a lot more detailed. There's no the goggles aren't just hard plastic. Even more, it looks like there's a bit of a size difference. These one's a lot smaller, this one's a lot bigger, and even more. As I really think about it, proportionally, this figure kind of sucks. He has these big chests and yet these very skinny arms. And these very weird legs. So maybe I'll do a review on him. And I will show, of course, the difference in wingspan between this Falcon and this Captain America Falcon. But then, again, I don't know. And then, of course, comparing it to this Steve Rogers here, again, you have the shield. Now, of course, mine is broken because I played with it back then, but I might be able to glue it back, as you see here. I just don't know about these shields, dude. Like, oh, how did you break this back then? Originally, my plan, and see, that fits snugly. My original plan is flipping it over here so the smaller strap goes in first. That way, it's a lot tighter. But as you see, don't do that because now the thing is broken. And again, as for a wing comparison, here's Captain America's wings compared to Sam Falcon's wings. And yeah, these things are huge. The new Captain America wings, they're massive. And even more, they're an upgrade, not only just in terms of length, but also in terms of articulation. These, you could barely articulate these. I mean, if you just untab the ones at the top, you could make it look like he's flying when he's going at fast speed, but not as good as this. It's not as good as this. So there is a positive to that. And as for another comparison, and for your standard action figure comparison, here he is compared to the Marvel Legends Zombie Captain America from What If that I customized. Now, let's, of course, test the shield. I know this is a custom-made one, but to prove maybe that this would be different, it kind of stays on there a lot better, because back then, all you would really have to stay for this Captain America are the fact that these fists have to be bent. And it's like, really? There's no alternate hands, there's no alternate anything. It's a bummer, really. It's a big bummer. But yeah, overall, let's talk about my final thoughts. So, overall, is this figure worth buying? Here's the thing. If you really, really want it as an upgrade, for me, I think it's an upgrade over the original, even though I don't own the original. And frankly, I don't know if I really want to because of this figure. But that being said, is it worth buying? If you have the original, probably not. I mean, if you're satisfied with the original, that's fine. But if you want to upgrade it, I do think it is worth it. And if you don't have a Sam Wilson Captain America, I'd say this is the best one to go for, since it's the most available, and also there's a lot more stuff with this figure. Again, it's a very good figure, but there are some problems with it besides, again, the very disappointing QC. There is this weird paint that is, while very nice, it does feel like more of a toy rather than an action figure. And I do feel that, you know, there could have been a little bit more effort done for the accessories. Maybe they could have not given him that head sculpt, or hell, even give him another jetpack. And instead, you could have, like, maybe, I don't know, like, you could have maybe you could have, like, another stand. the likeness is there, and it's, in my opinion, a lot better than the Infinity War Falcon. And in my opinion, from what I've seen, it definitely looks a lot better compared to that older Captain America. Well, not Captain America, that older Sam Cap from Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, yeah, overall, it's a worthy buy, but if you have the Build-A-Figure, I suggest skipping it. But if you don't have the Build-A-Figure, or if you don't have that version if you don't have this version of Captain America, let alone if you want to upgrade it, I'd say it's definitely good for you. There's a lot of decent upgrades here, like the wings, the new painting and sculpting. But again, the QC, the paint, and some of the articulation choices makes it, I don't know, a little bit hard to recommend. So, yeah, I would probably say maybe wait for clearance, unless you, again, really don't have one, or you really want to upgrade it. So, yeah, it can really go both ways. But overall, probably just get it at clearance, unless you really, again, really don't have this figure, or really don't have this version of Captain America, or you even don't or if you just want, again, upgrade. So yeah, overall, I gotta give him like a 7.5 out of 10. It's a bummer too, because I really wanted this guy for so long, for kind of a little bit of a while, for like a week or so, because again, I love the idea. I love this Captain America, and I've been wanting to kind of wanting to get one, and this is the most available option. But I do feel that in some cases, I was a little bit left with a somewhat bitter taste in my mouth, and that's because of the shield. If you're wondering how it stayed on, watch the short, but if you want to know, it's held on by literal sticky tack, as you see right there, and as you saw in the intro. So overall, yeah, that's my review. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, share this video with everyone. Of course, again, my main goal is to at least get over 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. If we do reach that mark, who knows? There could be a special going on. So, yeah, maybe a live stream. I don't know. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.